Recently I've been playing this early access game named Teardown, and at its core this is a voxel puzzle game where the player takes on the role of a poor demolitionist just trying to make ends meet, whether that be through legitimate business or shady business dealings. Now I don't want to spoil the story, which is told through a series of emails with different characters, where each character hires you for different jobs, but the subtleness of the story makes it that much more interesting and engaging. The primary selling point of this game is that everything, and I mean everything, is destructible, which lends itself really well when it comes to solving each puzzle. Each level provides a large swath of vehicles and interactable tools for you to play around with to figure out your own unique solution to the puzzle. This is where the game really takes on a life of its own, with the player being told very little about how to complete certain objectives. You are simply thrown in and you must discover the best approach for yourself. The lack of a heavy tutorial really makes the feel like you are this character, someone who is new to the life of crime. You begin with very few tools but quickly begin to learn more complex and sophisticated solutions to problems. While we're here, why don't you go ahead and smash that like button? Each mission requires the player to accomplish a primary task, which can be anything like taking a safe or acquiring multiple items across the map. Each mission comes with a set of bonus objectives, which upon completing reward the player extra money. Around the third mission, the player is introduced to alarms, which trigger a countdown that the player must at least complete the primary objective before, or the player will fail the mission. This short time frame is what really pushes the player to think of more complex solutions to each puzzle, because many of the missions require the player to travel from one corner to the other during this countdown, which leads to players having to really plan out their movements and actions before they trigger the alarm. One wrong move during the final escape and you may have failed the mission. There's little room here for error, which makes successful escapes feel that much more rewarding. The gameplay appears to be very basic and simple, but this only increases in depth as you unlock more tools and try out different vehicles. Speaking of vehicles, the vast selection of them really gives players bonus tools within each mission. While you don't choose what vehicles are brought into a mission, there are more than enough provided to complete most missions without ever touching half of them. The vehicles would be nothing without the physics. For example, in one of the missions you need to move a safe, which is at the furthest point of the map, to your getaway car during the alarm countdown. But since the large safes are too heavy for you to carry, one of the ways you can move this safe is by driving a dump truck underneath the safe and destroying the floor below it, allowing you to easily and quickly transport the safe to the exit. There are many other examples of this where all the destroyed rubble begins to pile up and make it more difficult to drive because your tires don't have traction with the ground, or your car is at an angle so you can't move it properly. These sort of little interactions with physics really expand the greater game as a whole. Going back to tools, the player begins the game with a sledgehammer, a spray can, and a fire extinguisher. So the sledgehammer is your basic braking tool. It can break basically anything besides metal or stone. Then your spray can is a tool that lets you mark the map, like the ground, and then when you look at your map you'll see the markings of it. So this can be used to plan out your route or to give yourself directions when you're in a car or something like that. And then your fire extinguisher is obviously used for putting out fires. As the player progresses through the game, they unlock and get more access to different tools, such as pipe bombs, explosives, a shotgun, and other cool things. At the end of the day, it's simply enjoyable to be in this world. It's fun to destroy stuff, and every time I'm ready to trigger the alarm, I feel like this is what it would kind of feel like in a real heist. Knowing that you have to get in and out in the matter of seconds, hyper-focused on where you're going and how you're going to do it. As far as the maps go, I haven't gotten that far in the story, so a lot of the missions are different objectives on the same maps. However, through the subtle storytelling, the maps change ever so slightly each time you visit them, which has this feeling that the world is actually responding to having done something before. This game does allow Steam Workshop and has a map maker, so even if the campaign only has a few maps, the Steam community can always be counted on to make more. Now with all that said, let's move on to the negatives. First off, with everything being destructible, sometimes things can be very unpredictable. For example, going back to that safe mission, if I hadn't figured out the floor under the safe was destructible, and the safe had fallen into the dump truck, then I would have been a bit screwed for that run because the safe is too heavy for myself to lift into the truck, and the geometry of the safe makes it very difficult to pick up with a forklift. Now with that said, credit is where credit is due. There is a quick save feature within the missions, so if you remember to save right before you do something that might be catastrophic, then you will be fine. But it's remembering to save that is the problem, because you might not know what you should have saved. I feel like an easy solution to this would be to have two mission-wide save systems going in parallel, where one is the player saves, which only save when the player clicks the button, and one where the game is just auto-saving at certain time intervals, and the player could decide to go back to whichever save they desired. My second issue, and this isn't that big of an issue, is that planning aspect can be extremely slow-paced. With only a top-down view of the map, you cannot see into buildings to know layouts or whether or not doors will be locked, or other little things, which can all result in you having to spend a lot of time simply walking around and figuring out which alarm to trigger and what path you're going to take when you trigger it. Now, I understand that this is a key part of the game, but the problem that I'm pointing out here is that I could walk over to this gate, and then it not open, and then I try to smack it with my hammer. It doesn't break. But then I get into a car and I drive it over there, and it opens. I understand that these are supposed to be like little inclusive like world aspects, like, oh, this car has like a little thing on it that triggers the gate. I get that, but it just gets a little frustrating now and then, because it's like some of the vehicles are parked in really annoying spots that you have to, you know, do like an 8-point turn to get them out of if you want them to be in one piece. It's just little things here and there. This is, like I said, not that big of a complaint, but it's just little things that add up to the planning phase taking up really longer than I feel like it should. In conclusion, if you enjoy slowly progressing through large and complex puzzles, then I would highly recommend this for you. If you're looking for a more fast-paced, action-oriented game, I would either wait for it to go on sale or just pass entirely. Regardless, it's a game to keep an eye on. The foundation of the game is very solid. The developers are wanting to allow modding support, so the future for this game seems very bright. I would love to see some multiplayer features enabled personally. Well, that's it for this video. If you liked it, a thumbs up is appreciated, and if you want to see future content I put out, then feel free to subscribe with the bell notifications turned on. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a nice day.